Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to Hearts 4 and the No Step Back expansion, as we're going to be starting a new campaign today. So when we finished our last series as the Soviet Union, we had a patron poll over which country we're going to play next, and India did win that vote. So I've had India on the poll quite a few times, and they've always lost, so I'm very interested to finally be able to play them. We've never done an India campaign on the channel yet, though I have played as them a while back, several years ago. Not enough to remember their focus tree, so I did do a little test playthrough. Got up to March 1941, just kind of learned the focus tree a bit. But let's go and start a new game, 1936, as the British Raj. We will be doing custom game rules, which I've already got set up here. I know that typically when I play as a minor country, we don't usually do any nation buffs, but we are going to do a one tick for every country in this campaign. I want to make sure that Japan is challenging, so we'll give them one little tick, but that's it. We won't go to the two that we'll tend to do as a major power. Just give them one tick, because we are just playing as a little minor country, I guess a large minor country I should say. So all this is going to be set to default, so there's not going to be a lot of changes with the AI behavior. There's going to be a few, but essentially what we're doing is we're going to have two large factions, one fascist faction and one communist faction. And then there'll also be the Americans, who will remain as a democracy to kind of be a unifier of all the minor democracies, I suppose. And just to stop the fascists or the communists from having to invade all the way into America just to win the war. Although they might end up fighting the Americans, that'll be a separate conflict, of course, since they'll be in a different faction. So with the Germans, they're going to be remaining fascists. The Soviet Union will be remaining communists, so those will be the two leaders of these factions. However, with the Soviet Union, we're going to do the left opposition. I believe that's the one that'll result in Trotsky being in power rather than Stalin. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because I don't know how Trotsky's branch looks, and if that's going to be helpful for us, since we will be going with the communist faction. We'll be playing as communist India, and so I don't know if this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing for us. I was just thinking, Trotsky and World Revolution and stuff, so I don't know if Trotsky's tree is actually better than Stalin's branch of the tree, or if it's worse. So I don't know if this will be beneficial or a negative for us. Despite doing 1.5 Soviet campaigns so far, I still don't know the full focus tree, because it's just such a huge focus tree. Japan's going to be remaining fascist, so that we can fight them. And you'll see that a lot of things are kind of staying as is. Fascist for Italy, they don't really have any choices, of course. France, though, will be going communist. So the idea here is that Germany will still have a two-front war. I'm just hoping that France goes communist fast enough that they'll join the Comintern before Germany attacks them. Probably not. It's probably not going to go the way I want it to. It never does. But the idea here is that they'll join the Comintern, and then Germany would still be in that two-front war, fighting France on one side and the Soviet Union on the other. So we'll have to see if it works. It probably won't. It never does. But Poland will be going fascist. Basically all the European countries, I think, are going either fascist or communist, with a few exceptions. I split the Commonwealth, so Australia and New Zealand are going communist, while Canada and South Africa are going to go fascist. And that's going to be the same way that the United Kingdom goes. Did we pass them, or are they further down? They might be further down. But we're going to be playing as India, so we don't need to set them up. The Hungarians and the Romanians are going fascist. Yugoslavia is going communist. The Czechs are going fascist. China will leave as historical, but we will have Manchukuo go with their independence. And here's the British. They're going to be organizing the black shirts and going fascist. So yes, that does mean we are going to have a fascist faction of the United Kingdom, Germany, and Italy, and thus they should be pretty powerful both on land and on sea, give the communists a real challenge. The United States is going democratic historical. The Dutch, I think, are one of the few exceptions where I don't have them going communist or fascist. We're going to have them do the one where they try and evacuate to the Dutch East Indies. I'd like to see them do that. I don't know if we've ever set them up to go that route in any of our campaigns before. So that'll be interesting. So we'll do that one, since we'll be focusing mostly on the Pacific side of the war. And it'll be kind of interesting to have the Dutch still in it and trying to build up in preparation for the Japanese invasions. They probably won't last long. We'll see what happens, guys. The Mexicans are going with the fascist dictatorship, so that means, since Canada is going fascist, that the United States, the democratic U.S., will have fascists in the north and the south. And while Mexico and Canada really can't compete with the United States in HOI4, it might give them enough time to get allies there, from Germany, Britain and Italy, and this could cause some serious issues for the Americans. It'll be interesting to watch and see what happens. The Spanish are going to go communist, the Portuguese are going fascist, so we have one for each side there in the in Iberia, and I felt like it would be better to go with Spain since they're on a border with France, so I think it makes more sense that they go communist. And then Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey are going to be the communist bloc in the Balkans. And then, of course, we have Romania and the Hungarians that are going fascist. Now, I didn't change Lithuania, Latvia, or Estonia because I assume they're just going to get annexed quickly. And I don't really see the point on having them go any route if they're not going to be around. So we'll just leave them on default, I think. So that's good to go. And we'll be playing on the regular difficulty because we have increased the AI's difficulty here with the major nation buffs. And I don't really feel like it's necessary to go with these and just make everything take longer. It takes longer to get political power, longer to get text done, just longer to do everything overall. And then it also hits your supply consumption as well. So we're just going to leave it on the regular difficulty. We will not have historical AI focuses on, of course. And let's go and jump on into it. I'm very interested to see how this campaign will go because it's not historical, obviously. But it's not the huge differences we sometimes do. Really, the main differences is we have France going communist and the British going fascist. So there's a few other differences, of course. For the most part, the major powers are remaining as is, with the Germans and Italians staying fascist, the Americans staying democratic, Japan staying their route, and the Soviet Union remaining communist. And so it's not vastly different from a historical setup, but it's different enough that I think it will result in some interesting events. So let's go and get everything set up so we can get to playing. I'm going to try and make it as far as possible. I'd really like to make it like 2 years because we're playing as a minor nation, so we don't have as much to do. So we are going to go with the electronic mechanical engineering and the basic machine tools as we typically do. We only have the 2 slots here as a minor power. So one of our priorities in the focus tree will be to get some of our other research slots unlocked. So this is the India focus tree. It's not very good. It's one of the older ones. This was the first major expansion for HOI4, the one that gave the Commonwealth their focus trees. So it was done really early on before Paradox started making these huge elaborate focus trees that had huge bonuses. And so what you'll see in this focus tree with India is not only is it fairly small compared to some of the newer focus trees, but the bonuses are really minor as well. They're nowhere near as good as the bonuses in some of the newer focus trees that have come out over the last 2 years or so. And so we're definitely going to have a handicap here, simply because the focus tree isn't great. And India is already sitting with some handicaps as it is. We have the princely states here. This is going to hurt us when it comes to autonomy. Marginalized Muslim community. This is reducing our recruitable population and decreasing our stability. Agrarian Society, and this is the big one, and I don't think you get rid of this. I think you keep it for the whole game. I might be wrong on that. I think the point of this is, though, to keep India from having stupid amounts of manpower from their very, very large population. Because if they had full access to their manpower, they would have millions of manpower. So I think that's the idea, is trying to make it so you won't, have unlimited manpower as India. And so I don't think you ever get rid of that. I might be wrong, though. The risk of famine, we can get rid of that. It doesn't have any initial effects, but you can have events fire, which are pretty negative. So you want to get rid of that. And you do that with the clampdown on corruption, but you can't do it until your autonomy is higher than colony. So essentially you won't be doing it anytime soon. But yeah, this is the focus tree. This is the route we're going to be going down here to the all India forward block, and then from there to the seek help from the Soviets to get the increase of communism. However, we can't go for that until world tension is at 10%. So we're going to have to wait a little while. And I said we're going to want to kind of beeline towards a research slot since we only have 2. There's only actually 1 research slot we can get right now. The other 2, I believe, both require us to be independent. Yeah, both of these ones require that we're fully independent. So this one here will be the only one that we can get, which does take 4 focuses to get to. And so I think we're going to go and start working on that first. We don't really have a lot of choices just yet. So yeah, we're going to go with the Great Indian Peninsula Railway. It's going to increase 2 railway levels, or build 2 railways. So we'll get that knocked out. There are a lot of focuses for the railways in here. I think it's like 3 of them. Yeah, it's like 3 railway focuses. This kind of helps build your railway network, which isn't that terrible, honestly. It's okay. I think it's going to build up the level for us in several areas. Yeah, I want to say that it's going to eventually build up somewhere down here, maybe to level 2. Maybe over this way as well. But for the most part, they're not very useful focuses. 70 days, spending that long to build railways up, which you can typically build quite quickly on your own with civilian factories. And that's 3 focuses, guys, that we have to get. So it just kind of shows how weak the Indian focus tree is, honestly. Well, let's go and build some civilian factories. We have just these 60% locations right now. So we'll just build over here. Just get a couple of these built in. We got another 60% over here. So we're just going to build several civilian factories, though we might want to pop one military factory in there somewhere. Just because we only start out with 2 of them, so not many. Let's go and get those 2 military factories assigned. We're going to be building some support equipment and some infantry equipment. With our 1 dockyard, we'll just get convoys. Probably not going to be a naval focus campaign, given the fact that we have 1 dockyard, and I don't think we have any naval techs. Might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, they don't really have any naval techs, with the exception, of course, of the transport ships. So this will not be a campaign focused on the fleets, as I'm sure you guys anticipated. We will be training all these troops up, and let's go ahead and just move them around a little bit. It doesn't really matter where they're at, honestly, because we won't have any conflict anytime soon. But with the new supply system, we just want to make sure that we don't have any issues. I'm sure they'll be fine here, but yeah, we'll just get them moving. Make sure they're in an area where we're not going to have too many supply issues. Alright, so I think that's good to go. Yeah, so we have 11 divisions, that's it, to currently train. Only 219,000 manpower, not much there. Now I think this here is broken. Could right click to dismiss, but I don't know if it'll pop back up. I guess we'll do it for now, and hopefully that'll pop back up once we have political power to actually spend. But yeah, that was broken when I did my little test playthrough. It just kind of stayed up whether I had political power or not. We do have 1 decision available as the Indians here, and that is to reorganize the railway system. It allows you to build supply hubs with a plus 300% bonus for 120 days. So that's huge. That's a big bonus, and something we might want to be able to use at some point, and you can only do this once. Only 1 time. So we don't want to use it right now. Also, it only allows you to build 3 supply hubs as well. So might be something we want to do a bit later. We're going to turn this on a speed 5, and we're going to let it fly, and we're going to try and get as far as we can in this campaign. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to get easily through the first year that we do in our first episode, typically, unless we're like doing volunteers or fighting a civil war or whatever. But usually we try and get through at least 1 year in this first episode. But with this one, since there's not a whole lot to do, I mean, we only have 2 research slots, and then the picking of the focuses, and there's really not much else to do. We can't send volunteers. That's not really an option for us. So yeah, there's basically just going to be sitting here on speed 5. And I believe we should be able to at least get through 1.5 years, if not 2 years. So we can try and get as close to World War II breaking out as possible, because we're going to try and assist with that. Do a little bit of fighting. We're going to see what happens. But I think we'll end up sending troops to France, regardless of if they go communist and join the Allies, or excuse me, go communist and join the Comintern, or if they remain democratic and stay with the Allies when the war starts, which I'm worried that's what's going to happen. But regardless of what happens, we will participate for several different reasons. Let's go and get this next focus selected, which is going to be the industrial expansion, to get 1 civilian factory. And that's what I'm talking about with the weakness of these focuses, guys. 1 civilian factory. I mean, typically focuses give like 2 to 3 civilian factories. We're only going to get 1 here as India. There's another one down here that gives you 1 military factory. That's it. And then the worst part is that if you're not going to, stick with Britain and you want to go independent, then you can't get these really powerful ones that actually do give good factory bonuses. Here you get 3 civilian, 2 military, and 3 military. So that's a lot, but look how much it impacts your autonomy. Drastically impacts your autonomy, increasing how long it's going to take to become free by quite a bit. Although I don't think that's the way we're going to end up going free. It'll likely be a different route. We will do improved worker conditions at some point, once we kind of fill out some of this here. But yeah, I do want to help out in France for a couple of different reasons. First of all, you know, it gets us experience, and we can't send volunteers, or we won't likely be able to send volunteers in this campaign. So that's one way for us to get some experience. So that'll be helpful. With this one, we're just going to go straight after the mechanical computing. We don't have very many research slots, so let's make sure the research slots we do have are as efficient as possible. But yeah, in addition to the army experience, we won't do this right now, of course, but we definitely will likely do that later. We're not going to pick the theorist just yet either. We can get that because we have the 100 political power. But in addition to the experience, if we're fighting on the British side, which I assume at that point we still will be, that'll be one way to increase our autonomy. Not by much, it doesn't make a huge difference, but it helps a little bit. So there's that, and of course there's the experience, and everything else you get from helping out in the war. So yeah, we'll definitely do that, help out, regardless of what happens with France, which again, I kind of assume it's not going to go the way I want, that they'll get attacked and then they'll join the Allies, or they'll join the Allies before the war starts, and then they won't get pulled into the Comintern before the whole war kind of takes place, which will kind of force them to stay in the Allies, most likely for the entire campaign, unless they have a focus that pulls them out of the faction and then puts them into the Comintern, which I don't know if they do or not. We got the civilian factory here, so make sure, yeah, we still are waiting for the 10% on the world tension. We will want to go down this immediately, as soon as we can, as soon as the world tension is high enough, because it takes a long time to kind of get the autonomy up high enough, and then also to get your communist support up, which I'll talk about why that's important. Let's first get a focus selected. And so we have to do these two here to get to the research slot. So that's what we'll do. We'll get the steel. We don't really need steel, but perhaps somebody will trade us for those steel. Maybe that will be one way we get a little bit of a benefit from it. We're going to pull back on this since we only have 80 of them, and I want to train them, and I'm sure we'll take some losses here. But we'll go and train these close air support, since I think that's all we start with, if I'm not mistaken, is just the 80 close air support. Those are the only planes that the Indians have at start. We did get the basic machine tools. We will be going down the concentrated industry 1 for the extra factory output. We're going to need all the factory output we can get, and because we're playing as a minor power, we're not going to have as many types of equipment that we're getting. And therefore, did they already go to communist? That must just be something, you know, in the initial focus here, because yeah, they're still 15%. And we're not going to have such a variety of equipment, so we probably won't be switching factories around that often. And we could use the extra 5% factory output, and that's with each of the techs. So pretty nice bonus. What's that, like a 25% total bonus? Towards the end of the game. Yeah, there's 5 of them. So 25% bonus. And so that's pretty helpful, and we'll definitely need it. Now, I said that we need to try and get the communist support as high as possible, as well as the autonomy. And the UK has already got the black shirts organizing. They're wasting no time. And the little thing did not pop up. Damn it. Alright, so that's unfortunate. I'm just going to have to really pay attention to this, because we've been able to get something here for a little while. We're going to get the silent workhorse, try and get as much political power as we can. It's best to get that early. But when you do the Civil War, which we will be doing, there's a focus for that right here, Indian People's Army. As that's a route we're going to go, and that will result in a civil war. And how large the Civil War faction is, although technically I think we're the Civil War faction because they'll be called the British Raj, you know, the side that breaks off from us. And how many states they get is supposedly based on 2 things. One, obviously, the typical factor, which is how much support your ideology has. So you want communism support to be pretty high, at least 50%. But apparently it's also influenced by your autonomy. Now, I don't know if it's based on the number here or just your autonomy level. I don't know. But we will want to try and get autonomy as high as possible. Even though we're going to do the Civil War, which means we won't have to get independence the traditional way, which is maxing this out, becoming a dominion, and then maxing out again. So so that we can free ourselves. So we did get the steel focus. Fantastic. So let's go after the oil one so we can get our research slot. And we won't need to trade for steel anytime soon. We're pretty much good. I think the only thing we're going to need to trade for is aluminum once we start building up our Air Force. Because we're not going to focus at all on the Navy, but we will have a little bit of an Air Force. It'll be a smaller one. Something to help us out though. And of course, we'll have our land army that is probably just going to be infantry and artillery and like mountain troops. I don't know if we'll get tanks, because there's so many limiting factors here. Obviously, our very limited production. Do not have very many military factories here at the start. And then, of course, there's the limited tech slots, with only having 2 here at start, and then we'll get 1 more. Until we become independent, we only have the 3 tech slots. So it's really difficult to get all those techs that are needed in order to get the tanks and all the stuff they need. And so I don't know that we'll get tanks. If we do get tanks at any point in the campaign, it'll just be light tanks due to our limitations. Unless this campaign goes like really late or something, then maybe we'll look into other types of tanks. We did get that oil. Fantastic. Still can't get the provincial elections yet. I can't see where the world tension is. That's why I keep checking that. So we'll be 70 days away. We're at 2% here. 70 days away from getting our next research slot. And again, we have filled the political power and I don't have my notification here. So we're going to turn that back on, which you do right here with the dismiss alert button. You just click on that. And hopefully it'll work now. I don't know. We'll see if it's still broken or not. So for the next advisor, we have a couple different choices. We could do captain of industry. However, we're doing all these industrial techs, so I think we should get this first, the industrial concern. Now this would of course help us build the civilian factories. Another option would have been to try to go early in mobilization, but we don't have enough war support. We need to get 5% more. So we won't be able to do that just yet. Frankly, we're going to need to wait until world tension gets high enough. It's going to have to be pretty high, like 20-something%, before we'll be able to change out a civilian economy. But we do want to do that as soon as we can. We'll get this industrial concern first. Then maybe the captain of industry. Another route to go would be to get something for army experience, to get one of our advisors. Obviously, their bonuses aren't going to help us much here in 1936, but the extra army experience would. That'd be nice to have, so we can make some adjustments to our division designs. We did get the concentrated industry. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and get the construction, because we're getting that Commonwealth research bonus. That's 25%. So we're going to knock that out so we can build quicker. It looks like we're also done with the mechanical computing. So that means we're done here. We could go in and go with the radio for the reinforced rate and coordination. And we might go ahead and do that actually. Could also go for the artillery so we can get that constructed. We don't really have any military factories though. So yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and go after the radio just to get it, so I know that I have it. Reinforced rate and coordination is going to be great. Any kind of battle that we have once we start helping. And I just want to knock that out so that I don't forget about it, since we will not be getting radar techs anytime soon. So obviously here we want the communists to win, but we cannot send volunteers. You need to have at least 30 divisions first of all, and world tension would need to be at 40%. So we will not be sending volunteers. Yeah, see, it's still broken. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, so we get rid of it, pop it back, but yeah. I'm not entirely sure what the issue is there. It does eventually fix itself, though. I don't know if it's after you get something. I mean, maybe it's just not reading it out because we have the military staff we can get. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. We got a few things to do, though. Let's go ahead and get this factory assigned, which I'm tempted to do close air support. But let's go ahead and get the infantry equipment issues solved since we're quite short. 4.9 thousand right now. So I guess we'll get somebody for the military staff, which we'll do it through here. And do somebody from the Army Command. And I think what we're going to start out with, guys, is the Army Reformer. We should have a lot more political power in this campaign than we typically do, just because we're playing as a minor that doesn't have as much things to spend it on. And so what we could do is get the army experience gain now and then switch over to somebody else later. I think that would be the good way to do this, since we'll have the spare political power to switch up. And this will give us a lot of army experience here at the start, which we can use to fill all these out, the spirits, make our changes to our division designs, start getting some of our army doctrines done. So I think it would be really helpful. And that'll give us, not quite double what we normally get with one of those other advisors. We did get the Indian Institute of Science. That's the research slot. We will not be getting the Institute of Fundamental Research, because that just gives us a theorist that we're not going to be getting. Now, we do need to get it eventually so that we can get the next research slot once we're independent. So there's really not a whole lot of choices right now. We could go and get this one for the land doctrine reduction. We could get dockyards as well. We don't really need those, though. I think we're going to go ahead and go after the East India Railways so we can get that one military factory. It's sad, but I'm actually excited for the one military factory. We do have the research slot unlocked. I think we might be going for the artillery guns so we can start getting those constructed. Yeah, I think that'd be good. We could also go for the trucks so we can start building those. But let's go for the guns. And yeah, again, it just doesn't go down. So it's very confusing. So it's almost like it's the same. Even if I dismissed it, it's the same as not having it pop up at all. Because basically it's always up there. Now, as I said, it will fix itself in time. It's kind of annoying that we can't utilize that, and sometimes we go a few weeks or whatever before I actually make any adjustments. So we have two designs here, and I'm going to switch these up because they're currently using the district garrison. We're going to switch over to the infantry design here. And we could delete that, I suppose. Is there any adjustments we want to make here now? We could go ahead and add those engineer companies. Yeah, let's go ahead and add the engineer companies. Why not? So let's save that. That'll give us a chance to train these guys a bit more. Now, we could keep them training for the army experience, but equipment is an issue. And it looks like Lithuania is having a war, a communist rebellion, so to speak. So are they going the communist route on their focus tree? That's what it seems like. So we had them set to default. So we weren't really entirely sure which route they were going to go, since default does not necessarily mean the historical branch. They can go any route, technically. So we'll have to see what happens there then, and how that'll impact, the Soviet Union, typically what they typically do, where they just conquer the Baltic countries here. But yeah, they're communist now. Alright, so we'll just have to watch and see what happens there. We can modify our officer corps. And do we want to do that right now so we can get a bit more army experience? That'd be one option. Let me just see what else we might want to do here before we go about doing that. Yeah, we could do that, I suppose. Because, yeah, world tension is not high enough to make any adjustments here. I suppose another good option would be the captain of industry. You know what? Let's do that. We are building civilian factories, and so that'd be really nice if we could build that a little bit faster. And I'm trying to click on it, but we only have 112, now 113 political power. And thus we gotta wait till we get a bit more. Let's go after the military factory. Just gonna knock that out. And yeah, we'll wait till we get the 150 political power and get the captain of industry so we can build these civilian factories a little bit faster. We don't have very many factories in our second line just yet. So we'll likely continue building civilian factories, but we're going to build a couple more military factories before we go about doing that. As I do feel like we need to get at least a few of these done. We did get the construction one, excellent. We'll just wait to go for the excavation. We're not trading for any resources yet, no real reason to go for that. And we'll be able to get a higher bonus here as well if we wait. We are in 1937, so let's go after the Concentrated Industry 2. We'll get those artillery guns in less than 2 weeks. Make sure these guys don't need to train or anything. We can make another adjustment to them. So we'll go about doing that, and we'll give them the Cav Recon detachment here. And then the next adjustment we'll make to the infantry division designs is adding the guns. Alright, so what do we want to get next? Could go ahead and go for the maintenance companies, or you know what, might want to go for the trucks. Could get a higher research bonus though if we wait a little bit longer And we did just unlock the 1937 techs here. So let's go for the improved machine tools just because we're going to get the 25% bonus and thus can get it quite a bit quicker than the construction. So we'll knock that out. We get the radio here in 8 days, and I did forget to build the artillery guns. So let's go and get that fixed. And our next factory will go into that as well. Still short on the infantry equipment by 4,300. Got those radios knocked out. And that's just some nice fast bonuses for us. Could go for that construction next. And maybe that will be what we do. Yeah, I think we will do that. Let's really focus on these industrial techs. And again, we had the political power, and I wasn't able to do anything because of our notification not working here. Just kind of a bummer. So we'll get this. This will allow us to construct the civilian factories 10% faster. Of course, now we're building military factories. Maybe I'll work another civilian factory in there, so that we're always kind of building like one or whatever. Is the 60% bonus is all we got here? Yeah, it looks like that's all we got. So yeah, maybe put this like so. Just kind of alternate between the two. Definitely need a lot more civilian factories. By the time we go independent, I'd like to have, I don't know, maybe 40 or so. Yeah, somewhere around there. We did get that arsenal, another military factory. Excellent. So that'll go into our artillery guns. And still not high enough road tension just yet. So we might go ahead and go for the lessons of the Great War next. I do want to be able to get that as soon as possible, though. So we might go for this one here. Because, yeah, as soon as that opens up, I want to get that, because that's a really nasty event. And we're not going to get land doctrines just yet. The political power would be helpful. Well, that's about it. Maybe the research bonuses here would be nice, too. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get this, just so that I can grab that as soon as we get past that, basically as soon as we're independent. Making good time here. We're already almost through a year and a half, and we still got plenty of time left for the episode. So I think we will get through the 2 years, which is what I was hoping. We can train these guys up with that adjustment we made. And we can make a further adjustment. So let's go ahead and do that now. And I think we're just going to go ahead and give them their guns now. Yeah, let's go ahead and give them the guns. For the combat width, we're going to do... I'm thinking 25. Yeah, probably 25, guys. Because the two main areas we're going to be fighting is jungles and mountains. Now, at the mountains, you could have like a 40-something width. Or excuse me, with the jungles. You could have a 40-something width. Combat division would be just fine. With the additional tax, it's 42. The base combat width is 84. So you want it to fit into that 84. But with the mountains, I think we will go with the 25. Because again, we got mountains up along this side here and over here. And if we have to fight Pakistan, which is a possibility, then when we have the Civil War, we could be fighting in mountains. So we're going to be doing a bit of mountain fighting, guys. So I think it would be wise to make sure our division designs fit nicely in the mountain provinces. So it'll be 25 combat width. And the way we'll do that is we'll just add an anti-air. They will not have anti-tanks, because I don't expect to be fighting large numbers of tanks in this area. Now, maybe. There's a possibility that the Japanese could have some lighter tanks, or whatever that we have to fight. We'll probably fight some tanks. Remember, the anti-air gives you a little bit of penetration, a little bit of heart attack. And again, I don't expect to be fighting a ton of tanks. And you know, we're already going to be building the Air Force, and that's going to take production up. So I don't think we're going to do the anti-tanks, guys. Just the anti-air. Now, we're going to need to build a lot of artillery guns. Since we're short 700 something now. Amelia Earhart did disappear. So the Americans will not have access to her later. We're at 142. What are we getting next? Probably another one of our military advisors. That's what I'm thinking. Could go for the material designer. Still, world tension has not increased at all. So, you know, it hasn't really started over here just yet in China. That'll give us a little boost to world tension. So I suppose we should go ahead and get ourselves another military high command. Particularly somebody who's going to give us some army experience bonus. And yeah, I think we're just going to go with the infantry. That's attack and defense being increased and a little bit more army experience. So that'll be helpful. Now we could be building units. We have a little bit of manpower. We're still pretty short on all types of equipment just at this moment. We do have these old tanks here, 196 tanks. I want to say the game's using them for our occupation divisions. We'll double check on that. We did get the improved machine tools, excellent. So that means we're essentially done here outside of excavation. Let's go and see what we want to get next. We need to get the planes. So maybe one of the next things we should get is the aircraft designer. I think that would be wise. We could also get the one for the infantry equipment. So we'll be able to research that faster. I think we're going to do the trucks next, guys. Yeah, that might be the next thing to get. We do need to get trains eventually too, but that's not a priority just yet. We can also stack up those research bonuses. Let's just go and get the trucks, guys, so we can start building those. I can see how that will be useful. So Civil War has expanded in Spain. Alright, so we've knocked these out. We'll take a look at the rail system here in a minute. Just get that focus selected. So this is what our current rail system looks like. Okay, so all kinds of crazy stuff happening over here. Estonia has joined the Axis. We're going to take a look what's going on over there. But we do need to connect the rails here. We'll likely connect it through here. Now, it's not completely necessary because you have the port here. But being at war with the British, we can expect that we will not control the seas around here, particularly since we don't have a fleet. And so we're going to want to connect the rail system here. It's not a priority right now, but this is what the rail system currently looks like. So you notice they did build some level 2s. I guess it's easier to look at that through here. But yeah, then we have like a level 2 here. I don't think that was level 2 before. Could be wrong, but I think they built another one down here. So this has been increased as well. So yeah, just kind of give us higher level rails. Can't make an adjustment to our unit designs. See if we have anything to add. We're not going to do support artillery there. I have other plans. The only thing really to add is the anti-air, which will get us up to the 25 combat with. But we don't have the anti-air yet, so that's not an option. Do these guys need to be trained? They do not, but we are facing some equipment issues over here due to the lack of trains, I think. Yeah, we need 3 trains. Alright, so we're going to need to move them just anywhere else, frankly. So we're not taking any attrition or having any supply issues. But the war has started over here between China and Japan. So we have to pay close attention to that because it will directly impact us. And it'll be interesting as well to see how they do with them both having the same ticks and, you know, the AI bonus difficulty. You know, in that Soviet campaign, I gave China 1 extra tick, and Japan had a lot of difficulty with them. I think they still might end up having difficulty because I think what really happened in that last one was it was the lack of naval invasions. Japan didn't do any naval invasions, and I think that's why China did so well, because that's typically what brings China down, is the naval invasions. I think this might actually work out the way we want, because the British are already fascist here in the Allies. And so you'd think that France, being communist, that they would not want to join the Allies. So this might actually work out just the way we want it to. I did not see what happened over here. So because we set them down to default, they kind of just did whatever they wanted here. And so one of them went communist. I should have probably actually picked which route they went. I didn't think it would be an issue. I just figured they'd all go down their default branches. Yeah, you got a fascist Estonia, so the Germans will be able to put troops here and be not that far from Leningrad, because they have already joined the Axis. So that's quite dangerous for the Soviets and for our faction. So not good there. And I suppose we'll have to see what Latvia does, since as of right now, they're in between Lithuania, the communist of the Baltic countries, and the Soviet Union. So I'll have to see what happens there. We did get the concentrated industry too. Fantastic. So still pretty far away from 1938, so not going to get that just yet. We're still waiting to get several things here before we research certain types of tech, like the planes, for instance. So we'll wait to get that. Could go ahead and do the anti-air. Yeah, we already have a 10% bonus there. I suppose that would work. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do next. We could do the trains too. Let's do the trains. It's a 15% bonus. So we'll knock those out. Not really happy about having to build those. We might not build them this early. I don't know. We'll see, guys. We'll see. We do have one military factory to get assigned. So let's go ahead and place it into... Let me see what we need the most of. Do need a lot of guns. Let's put them into the artillery guns. And then the next one will come into the infantry equipment here. Alright, so just waiting to get to that 150 political power. And once we get that, we will get the... either the aircraft designer or the material designer. Probably aircraft designer is what I'm thinking. So we can start building those planes. Not going to put a ton of factories into planes early on. But I would like to start building those. I'm going to go ahead and get some more military factories going. As well as another civilian factory. And just keep on building in these 60% locations here. Well, let's go and do one more civilian factory. We did get that construction too. Excellent. Alright, so we're done here outside of excavation. We'll wait until we have like the full 25% bonus here. It looks like there's one Dominion country that hasn't gotten it yet, and that would be New Zealand. So yeah, we'll wait. And it doesn't leave a whole lot of stuff for us to get. We might go ahead and do the anti-air now. Yeah, I think we're going to do the anti-air. Alright, so let's go knock that out. So we can build those. Put them into our units. And hopefully have them in time for the war with Germany. Because we will be sending troops to France. Though one issue with sending troops to France, when I did my test playthrough and I did this, I just did a historical run. So the British were on my side. And so I had no difficulty getting my troops back. I think the Italian submarines engaged me in the Mediterranean and sunk a couple of my convoys. But overall, didn't have a lot of trouble getting my troops back from France. But whatever we send to France, we might not get them back. It's a real possibility. Just because we won't control the seas. The British will control the seas. We'll just have to see what happens there, guys. It's going to be a lot more difficult, though, the war in France with the British not helping. So we got the lessons of the Great War. It's going to reduce the cost of one of our land doctrines. And we can now get provincial elections, so let's go knock that out. It's going to give us 100 political power. It's going to increase our autonomy by 100, but it's going to modify the princely states, which... Is that like decrease? That's decreasing it, isn't it? Pretty sure that's decreasing it. Yeah, this is going down. So that's unfortunate. Czechoslovakia has surrendered the Sudetenland. Remember, they are going fascist, and they typically tend to do that when they're going fascist, trying to appease the Germans. So now we got a four-way war in Spain. Though it does look like the Republicans are doing pretty well. We'll have to see if they can turn this around here, get this wrapped up here, and then go ahead and start pushing them back. Yeah, hopefully they should win there. Because the communist Spain is pretty important for what we're doing here. Because we'll have just Spain, France, the Soviet Union, and then this block here, which seems like a lot. You got the Turks as well. I mean, it seems like a lot. But remember, when you put the Germans and the British together, it's that's a terrible combination. They can be pretty powerful. They gel really well together. And the Soviet Union is now having their civil war, and it looks like it's going to be a tiny civil war. Although, maybe they did it too early. I don't know, because Trotsky's side looks really, really weak. Yeah, I'll have to see what happened there. What happens, because it might just end up being Stalin remaining in power there. Yeah, we'll just have to see. Hopefully they can get that wrapped up quick, regardless of who wins. And again, we're sitting on all this goddamn political power, man, because of the notification not working. Yeah, it's unfortunate because you really rely on that. We're going to go to the aircraft designer, and we will do the light aircraft designer for that increased agility and max speed. We want our fighters to be as good as they possibly can be. We'll get another 100 political power, and that'll allow us to, I suppose we'll knock out material designer next. Although, war support might be high enough at that point, where world tension continues to increase, to move out of civilian economy. Now, I know we're spending 150 political power to go to early mobilization, which isn't great either, but we need to. Yeah, this is the civilian economy is just devastating for us. So yeah, we definitely want to get rid of that as soon as possible, even if it does result in us spending more of our political power. But But again, I do not expect political power to be an issue in this campaign. There's just not as much for us to spend it on. So we should be pretty good to go, I think. We did get the provincial elections. Excellent. We're going to go and move straight on down here to continue to increase our autonomy. We're now at 380. And war support is high enough to change early mobilization, so let's go ahead and do that now. So that'll be incredibly helpful. It's going to be more civilian factories for us to build with. And we can build the military factories and civilian factories faster. I think the war between the communists and the fascists might start much earlier than I was expecting. Because, yeah, if the Italians attack Yugoslavia, now technically they're still not aligned right now. So this might not start the conflict up. It's hard to say. France is still considered democratic. I'm surprised with just how quickly the British went fascist. They just raced on over to that, like they were excited for it or something. Alright, so the next thing that we need to do is the planes, since we did just get the aircraft corporation. So yeah, let's go ahead and do the planes. Also, it looks like we can spend some experience. And we'll have the 25% bonus here as well. Get the demons. Get those fighters. So with the land doctrine, we are going to stay on the grand battle plan doctrine. I think that makes the most sense for us. You could make the argument for mass assault simply because India would get a lot of manpower from going down mass mobilization. You get a stupid amount of manpower, but I don't think we need to do that, guys. I'd prefer to have the better bonuses here. And as you guys know, I don't really like this focus branch. This is probably my least favorite. I like grand battle plan. Again, I don't like it as much as these two, but I don't think either one of these makes sense for the way our army is going to be designed. So I think it makes sense to go with grand battle plan. And that's what the Japanese will have, who I assume will be our main opponent. So yeah, I think it makes sense to just go ahead and go this route. And plus, the Commonwealth goes down this route as well, so we might get some research bonuses here. So we'll get the grand battle plan, increase in max planning and daily command power. Neither one of those are that helpful for us. And we can commandeer civilian trains, allow you to get 15 trains for 5 stability. We're not going to do that, guys. We'll just set up one factory to build these. It's fine. And they'll get it whenever they get it, which will be after the one military factory goes in the infantry equipment. It's not that big of a priority, guys. I don't think anybody actually needs the equipment. Maybe. Yeah, these guys over here do. We can just pull them off that border. Let's pull them over, I don't know, probably just to the capital, I suppose. Yeah, just get them out of there. So we don't have any supply issues there. And then you don't even need any trains. Now, we knew we were going to eventually need trains. So that's why we're getting them researched. But yeah, I don't want to have to build them any sooner than... I mean, it's not that big of a deal, regardless. Whether or not they have their supply. We're not at war or anything. We do want to keep them from taking any attrition. Almost got all of our shortages solved. We also got the trucks done. We're going to start building those too. It's practically 1938, so let's go with the computing machines here. And making great time. 2 years, guys. That's what I wanted to get to. And we've done it. And we still have a little bit of time left to play. So play a few more minutes here. We do have 5 experience, but yeah, we won't make any adjustments just yet. We got that anti-air. Fantastic. We'll have to get those building. We also got the trucks. I need to get those building as well. I think we're probably done here for now. I think we might go after... Now, when it comes to the planes, I don't know that we're going to do specialized bombers. I'm thinking we're just going to go with tactical bombers and use those exclusively due to their limited production capabilities. Now, tactical bombers are obviously really expensive compared to naval bombers or close air support, but they can do both of those jobs, just not as well. I could see having some of the 1936 models and maybe even of the naval bombers as well to kind of cover our coastline and help us out against the British fleet and the Japanese fleet for that matter. Yeah, I could see doing that. But you know what? The range here is what's going to be the issue, guys. Like, look at these sea zones. Those naval bombers aren't going to reach hardly any of that. Those lower level naval bombers. So we're probably just going to go with the tactical bombers is what I'm thinking. and have the tactical bombers do all of our jobs. They'll do strategic bombing, they'll do the naval bombing, and they'll do the close air support. So in that case, we would want to start working on that. Let me just make sure there's nothing else that we really want. We do need more of the support companies as well. But let's go and get the tactical bombers, guys. I think that'd be helpful to start building those, since we're going to rely on them so much. It would be good to have plenty of them. Sitting at 98 political power. So we can now get another military high command. Question is that what we want to do next? Now this slot here is being reserved for our communist revolutionary. So we don't want to get anything there. Could get the theorist, though we're currently using army experience for other things. So it might not be the best thing to get. I think we're waiting on material. Yeah, we're waiting on the material designer, aren't we? So we need to get to 150. So we'll knock that out. So I'd like to get this done before we end the episode. Get this focus done, and then get that 150 political power so I don't forget about it. And then we'll get the material designer, and then that'll likely be the end of the episode. Maybe we'll spend this army experience too, if there's anything that we can get with it. I want to get the mountain troops, but we do have a focus that unlocks those for us. And so we'll likely just wait. Australia just declared independence. Remember, they're going down the communist branch of their focus tree, as is New Zealand. So already, one of the members of the Commonwealth has declared independence. And New Zealand just declared independence as well. Alright, so both of them are out. Maybe it has to do with them going fascist, because again, I didn't have them go fascist on my test playthrough. And maybe that's why we can leave. Huh. Okay, that's interesting. I was thinking we're going to have to do it completely differently. But if we don't have to do it this way, then that's great. Yeah, we'll just leave the allies. I'm guessing what happens here is them going fascist. Because again, I didn't have this event fire when they were, democratic. Yeah, the Indian government has undergone tremendous political changes. Yeah, I think that's what it has to do with, is them going fascist. So yeah, we'll say this is unacceptable. We will declare independence. We'll do it now. Okay, I was thinking we would have to do it the long way. Now, I wonder if we'll still have to do a civil war, because I believe that's tied. Yeah, I believe we'll still have to do the civil war. Yeah, looks like we'll still have to do that. All right, well, that kind of changes things a little bit, because I believe that opens up our focus tree to do a few different things, and we're about to get that knocked out, so we'll go and wait and see what that is. We can demobilize our economy. Why do we want to do that? Just because we went to early mobilization, I guess? Yeah, we don't want to do that. Once we go communist, we shouldn't have any issues with that anymore. I believe there are some negative events tied to not doing that. And, okay, we bypassed it. Alright, so that's a bummer, since we're not with the British anymore. So that was one negative. That was 25 air experience and a 50% reduction for air doctrine. So could continue with the plan here, just so that we can get the communist support going up. Have to get these two here. Don't have to do this one. That's interesting. So that kind of just changes everything up on the way I did it the first time, since we had the British go fascist. I wasn't expecting that. We can clamp down on corruption. Should probably do that, because that event is horrible. It's a really nasty penalty. But now the research slots are open. Now this one requires that we have more than 50 factories, so couldn't get that one. What about this one? This requires that we're at war. So neither one of them are actually open, despite the fact that we're currently independent. But yeah, we're going to clamp down on corruption, guys. That gets rid of the risk of famine, which is right here. Again, really nasty events that fire here that can hurt us pretty bad. So we want to make sure that we get rid of that. It's a bummer we got to spend 70 days on the focus, but I think it's important. We're not going to create any collaboration governments. I didn't take a look at our division that we have occupying, and we do have the armor division, but you notice it doesn't actually have any hardness, despite the fact that it's an armor division using tanks. That's interesting. Remember, the hardness is what reduces the losses. Now, it is still the best for the cost, production cost per suppression and the manpower. So I suppose we can keep it as is. It's just interesting that we're not getting any hardness from that. Those tanks must be really bad. There are the interwar tanks, but yeah, we don't have any hardness from it. But yeah, we'll keep it as is, just because it's currently the best. We also have some army experience we can spend. I'll see if there's anything worth getting over here. We can go ahead and add the anti-air. And that'll get us up to 25 combat width. So this is what the division designs are going to look like. Now we do need names for our division designs. So feel free, and I'll mention this in the next episode since this is the end of this one and I'm just now mentioning it. But yeah, we do need names for our division designs. As of right now, this is the only one we're currently using. We might use a motorized as well since we're not going to have tanks. I'm right now waffling between using motorized units for our fast one or actually using cav. I know I never do that. Now cav is a lot slower, obviously, but they don't require the fuel, which we have a little bit of oil, but I imagine our planes are going to eat most of that up. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to use these motorized units or if I'd prefer to have like a cav division for our quick unit. Both of them have some bonuses. For instance, the cav will do much better in the more difficult terrain that we're going to be fighting in. Those motorized units are going to have a lot of penalties, particularly in the mountains. So the cav does better in those areas. So I'm actually thinking about, for the first time, since I've never done this in one of my series before, actually using a cavalry division for fighting rather than just for an occupation force. I think it could be interesting to have a different design like that and not have to rely on any type of a motorized unit. Now, I don't think I built everything I needed to build here. And we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to get the trucks, and we're going to get the anti-air. Put that right there, so they'll get that first. Get both of those building. We need 330 anti-air, 505 artillery. Good on everything else as of right now. Did we ever get those fighters? Not yet. Or 84 days, because we want to build those as well. Really need to be starting to pump out these military factories since we're only sitting on 7 right now. I think once we finish the civilian factory, we'll probably maybe throw out like 2 more military factories. Yeah, just go ahead and throw 2 into these 60% locations here. Get those done. Did want to take a peek at that Civil War. It looks like Trotsky's doing better than I was thinking he was going to do. He's moving towards Moscow. They lost a little bit of territory they had up here, but they are pushing forward. So we'll have to see what happens there. See if they make some progress. As of right now, France is 50% communist. You know, we have the 2 different factions here. You know what, guys? If we want them to be in the same faction, we're going to have to dismantle the Allies or the Axis. I suppose it makes most sense to dismantle the Allies first. Yeah, we might have to do that, guys. I don't know how the best way about going about doing it. I could try doing it through the console. I don't know the console command for getting rid of a faction, though. Probably best to do it with an event, or you can tag over to the British and then get rid of their faction. But we have to get rid of their faction, or else they're not going to join. I don't think they will. I mean, I could take a look here, but I don't know that they have a focus that actually puts them in the German faction. I mean, we'll take a peek at that real quick, because I know they have some regarding Germany. Man, I'm not seeing anything here. That doesn't mean it's not there, though. Because this is all the King's Party, and that does, I think, result in them joining. Yeah, they'll do an alliance here. That's the King's Party one. There's the Secure the Italian Alliance. That would just likely put Italy in the British faction. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I think... Yeah, I think we might have to force them into the German faction if we want them to be faction mates and not enemy fascist countries. So yeah, I think we're going to have to do that, since I really want them to be together. That's kind of like the key of this campaign. So I think we will have to do something there, guys, to make sure that that happens as it's supposed to. Oh yeah, already some interesting things happening, guys. We've got civil wars going on around the world. Obviously, we've had Australia and New Zealand's already left the Commonwealth, as have we. And that went a lot different than I was expecting it to go, since I didn't do this direction with the British in my test campaign. And so yeah, I was expecting to have to go the other route to do it, which is when you do the Civil War. When you do the Civil War, it'll pull out the other country, And how large that country is based again off of your how much support you have for communism. And then it also says the autonomy influences it as well. We don't have the autonomy anymore, obviously. But yeah, I had them rise up like right here. They weren't that big. And then I wiped them out fairly quickly. And they joined the Allies. And so that put me at war with the Allies. And I just joined the Comintern. And then they were at war with the Allies because of that. But yeah, this is going to be a different situation since we have the British going the fascist route. I do hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. Also leave a comment. Remember all those things, the comments, the likes, all those interactions, they do help the channel, help us with the search engine, more people find the videos. Particularly on these episode ones, this is probably the most important video to leave the likes on in the comments. But that does really help us out in the search engine, so I definitely appreciate it. If you're looking for any links, check out the description of any of our videos. You'll find links to our PayPal, Patreon, and Teespring store if you like to help support the channel. You'll also find a link to all of our social media if you'd like to follow us on there. And finally, you'll find a link to our Discord if you'd like to join our community. If you're looking for anything to watch while you wait for the next episode, which will be on Wednesday, but if you need something to watch until then, check out the front page of our channel. We do have 3,000 something videos all sorted by genre, with a whole section just for the Hearts of Iron 4 campaign, since I have played so many of those. There's also a strategy section where I play a variety of games, both from Paradox Interactive, like CK3 or HOI4, but also other strategy games not made by Paradox, like Humankind and Old World would be two of the more recent ones. So you should be able to find something to watch until that next episode. So I do hope to see you on that video, which again will be on Wednesday. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.